All right, so I'm back from a 4-week journey. I thought I'd just take a second, first of all, to say thank you. While I did receive a few calls and a few emails, by and large, two things great happened. One, the team handled everything, so apparently whatever you needed got largely taken care of. And well, I guess the bad news has been that they didn't miss me that much, but I guess I'll get over that. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about my trip. You know, it's a ritual here after 33 years. When clients come in, my first question is, where'd you go, what'd you do? Because I'm always excited to hear what they did. So I don't know how excited you are to hear what I did. It's kind of like when your grandma put up the slides and you had to sit there through the little slideshow for a few hours and, oh, that's great, Grandma. Anyway, I'm going to do that to you for a second. But so Martha and I got in the car about a month ago when we first went to Savannah. The goal was to only go 4 or 5 hours at most. Maybe we deviated from that a little bit from time to time, but made our way to Savannah, where really the big attraction was shrimp and grits. We had a lovely meal that night, walked the waterfront a bit. We walked all the squares, well, not all of them, but most of them. And as most of you know who've been to Savannah, it's just rich in history, and you get this overwhelming sense that you're back in the mid-19th century when you walk through Savannah. So that's obviously cool. The next day we drove to Wilmington, North Carolina, which is a weird place that my wife and I both like. There's nothing spectacular about Wilmington in and of itself, but it's a cool city with some good eats that we enjoyed. Had some good seafood in Wilmington and just kind of walked their quaint little downtown, which was fun. The next day from Wilmington we drove to Richmond, Virginia, which most people know is, no pun intended, rich in history. We went to the Edgar Allan Poe Museum, which was both dark and interesting. We have weird interests like that. And then we went to the Confederate White House, which I didn't even realize was still there, but it is where Jefferson Davis lived throughout his presidency. And then we went to the Civil War Museum that was there, which was, of course, fascinating. We were there in Richmond for 2 days, and then we moved on to my wife's family lives outside of Scranton, PA, where they've lived for a long time. So it was a good 4th of July in Pennsylvania, which of course is apropos, not too far from Philadelphia. So we had a good time with family, lots of good eats. Most of you know my wife's Colombian, and the food was outstanding all weekend. I may have brought some of that back with me. After Pennsylvania, we went to Stowe, Vermont, which was cool. Beautiful Stowe, Vermont. Even in the summer, we went biking. We went for a lot of hikes. It was really cool. I played a round of golf at the Stowe. I don't even know the name of the resort, but the course was outstanding. And then from Stowe, we went to a little town called Rangeley, Maine, which was suggested to me by a friend, where we did some hiking and walked the little city. We wanted to go on a canoe trip, but COVID apparently put the kibosh on that for whatever reason. But we had a wonderful time and enjoyed the small little town. From Rangeley, we moved on to Portland, Maine. For those of you who have not been to Portland, it's as advertised. It's stunning. The outer islands are stunning. The people are cool. It's kind of a young town, kind of a hipster town, but in a more cleanly way, if that makes sense. No offense to hipsters. But I've been accused of being a hipster, so it's totally fine. It's kind of like Asheville, but a little bit right of Asheville, if that makes sense. They say they have more breweries per capita in Portland than even Asheville, which my understanding previously was they had the most. So Portland is now claiming to be the king or queen of that particular industry. I was also told there are many wonderful, I ate at many wonderful restaurants in Portland, but I was also told in Portland that a lot of the chefs from New York have moved and relocated to Portland because of the cost of living. So there's a lot of chefs in town, and it shows in the fare that we had there. From Portland, we moved on to Cape Cod. Stayed in Cape Cod a bit. Didn't see a lot of Cape Cod. I thought Cape Cod was cool. What I really thought was cool was Nantucket. Really enjoyed Nantucket. Beautiful. Lots of good food, lots of neat restaurants. Also, of course, did Martha's Vineyard because you have to, which I enjoyed immensely. I went to the Whaling Museum in Martha's Vineyard, which was pretty neat. From the greater Massachusetts area, we moved on to Rye, New York. Why Rye, New York? I have no idea. It was just 5 hours away, and we stayed there. We had a nice meal at a Colombian restaurant we found in Rye, New York. So we moved on from there to Baltimore. My mother taught me if you can't say something nice, don't say something at all. So we're gonna move on from there to we went to Charlottesville, back to Virginia, where we went to, as most of you know, Monticello. Visited Thomas Jefferson's home there and his property. That was fantastic, as advertised. Saw his burial place, and that was super neat. The University of Virginia is a stunning campus. A lot of smart people walking around. So a lot of history there as well. Moved on from there to South Carolina, back to Greenville, where I am. Outside of Greenville is where I'm hoping to try to build a house. Building a house right now is not very easy anywhere, so we met with our builder there. But one of the highlights of the trip for me was going to see the Greenville AA team. They have a Fenway replica there, so it's a Red Sox affiliate, and the minor league team has a Fenway replica park there, and it's well attended. I think it's called the Drive, the Greenville Drive. And I'll bet there were 4,000 people at that game. Very well attended. For those of you who have not been to Greenville, South Carolina in a while, do yourself a favor. It's worth the drive to do a 3 or 4 day weekend there. There's a lot to do. It's a beautiful city on the river, lots of great food. So I recommend Smoke on the Water, where they have outstanding barbecue and a chocolate mousse that I could have eaten 5 of, but that would have embarrassed my wife, so I didn't. But all in all, the trip was fantastic. I really appreciate the ability to do that. As many of you know, I'm an empty nester now, or I will be in a few weeks when I take my daughter to New York to go to school. And we were kind of experimenting with what that would feel like, and it's actually not bad. So I highly recommend it if you haven't done it. If you still got kids at home, trust me, your day will come. For most of you, you know how much fun that can be, that we don't miss our children. But again, back from the trip, ready to work, ready to get with everybody, ready to go over all of the events of the last few months, looking at accounts, raising cash, getting ready to take income. So I'm excited to get back to work, ready to get back to work, and